The fight for the survival of the multiverse has begun. Hi guys, welcome to Multiverse. So today we are going to talk about Crisis on Infinite Earths, the CW event as opposed to the comic. So let's get this party started. Just a bit of context first. I started watching Arrow 8 years ago when it was first released, and I have to admit I didn't really expect to be watching that show, and I was hooked with the first episode. I really enjoyed that series, and when they introduced Barry Allen within Arrow, it got even better. Not only did Arrow get better, but so did the Flash. When they first released Arrow, you could tell they were embarrassed to be making a superhero TV show. They were trying to make it look like a crime drama or like anything other than a superhero TV show. They even made fun of the Green Arrow name in the first or second episode, I forget. At some point, someone suggests like because at first they were calling Green Arrow the Hood, the Vigilante, and a whole bunch of crappy name like that. And then they were discussing around the table like, what are we going to call this Vigilante? And someone suggests, why not Green Arrow? And the first thing that comes out of Oliver's mouth is, that name is stupid. Sadly, they were trying very, very hard at first to make Arrow not a superhero show. But with the success of The Flash, I guess they had no choice but to change direction and finally embrace everything that makes superheroes. Whether the costume, the silly costumes, some of the crazy ideas, like Gorilla Grodd. We never thought in a million years that we would see Gorilla Grodd on TV, and it happened. The same with Killer Shark, the same with a whole bunch of stuff. And for Arrow, Arrow was pretty awesome until they decided to try to increase the team too much. At some point, they were focusing on way too many characters. That Arrow pretty much became a side character in his own TV show. So that was a bit disappointed. And sadly, that is a pattern that keeps on happening. They did the same with the Flash. At some point, the Flash became a side character in his TV show, and they were focusing on Elongated Man, on Killer Frost, on Vibe, on Iris, on any character but the Flash. There was even a whole season where the daughter of the Flash pretty much became the main character. So that was a bit disappointing. But the first, I would say, the first 4 seasons of Arrow and the first 2 seasons of the Flash were pretty awesome, which is a bit strange because I guarantee you I'm not the target audience that they had in mind. I'm an old guy. I've been an old guy pretty much since Arrow started, and I can guarantee you that I'm not the audience that they want. That has become quite obvious, not just in the TV shows, but in comics and even in movies. It's starting to show. They want to cater to our younger crowd, and if they're embarrassed by they seem to be embarrassed by their audience that are older white guys. It's sad, but that seems to be how it is. So the fact that I was able to enjoy those TV shows was nothing short of a miracle because those TV shows were made for teens, and I can tell you I'm not that. Of course, there was some nice superhero action, but in order to be able to enjoy the superhero action, we had to kind of ignore the teen drama that is in those TV shows. It's always a bit strange to see, like, most of the actors in those shows were like between 25 and 30 years old, but they act like 12 years old. And the relationship between the characters are as if they were 12-year old. Very often there would be some sort of misunderstanding that could be cleared up with a simple conversation. Just hey Jack, why did you do this? And oh, that would clear up the whole thing. But they're trying to create a drama within those shows. Sometimes not so well. But anyways, so the fact that I was able to enjoy those shows, and then later on we got Legends of Tomorrow's, which was the first season was awesome. The second season I wasn't too sure about that, and then again after a while it became they were trying very hard to make it not a superhero show, more a comedy show. So I really enjoyed the Legends of Tomorrow at first, and even Supergirl. The first season of Supergirl was very fun. Sadly, with the second season, it started going down the drain. And by now, sadly, for most of those shows, I just cannot watch those TV shows. There's just too much. There's just too many things wrong with those shows. I just can't do it. And this year there was a new TV show that was added to the roster. There was a Batwoman. I Oh, the first episode wasn't bad. It was like watching Batman Begins again, like a lesser version of Batman Begins again, which was all right, I suppose. But after 4 or 5 episodes, I just that show became unwatchable. And sadly, that is pretty much how I could describe all those shows. They were very fun at first, but sadly they became unwatchable about halfway through their runs. Uh, I was able to keep on watching The Flash last year, but I was every episode I would think, okay, this is the last episode and I'm watching it, and then I would end up watching one more because I really enjoy The Flash. I'm a big Flash fan, so it was a bit heartbreaking not to be able to watch the Flash anymore, or to have to struggle to watch The Flash, because the show no longer was about The Flash. It was about his daughter, and the whole father daughter drama, or the whole father mother daughter drama. I hated that. I hated that also in Black Lightning. I don't know if you guys recall, I spoke about Black Lightning a bit in the past. I watched the first, I don't know, forget, 3, 4, 5 episodes of Black Lightning, and at some point I just couldn't do it. The whole family drama. I already with the Flash, there was always the whole drama between Iris and her father, and Barry, and that killed me. So when the time came to watch Black Lightning, it was that same family drama times five, because it was always Black Lightning worried about his daughters, and trying to get back with his wife, and trying to protect his daughters. And I was tired of that with Joe West and the Flash. I didn't want to watch that with Black Lightning. So I watched just a handful of episodes of Black Lightning, and I just couldn't keep on watching. Pretty much stopped watching Legends of Tomorrow about about season three. Again, I just couldn't do it, which was a bit sad because it was when John Constantine was joining the team, and I really liked John Constantine. His TV show was horrible, but the character was spot on. It's too bad that they tried to stretch the reveal about who the big bad guy behind everything was. If they had revealed right at the end of episode one who the bad guy was, it probably would have been a bit better. It probably would have kept the show going a bit longer. That's one of the things that was awesome with the Flash TV show. Right off the bat, they showed us that there was a mystery surrounding the man in the yellow suit, and they didn't wait until the end of the season to give us some sort of resolution to that. They did that just before Christmas. They confirmed who the man in the yellow suit was. Although even though they did that, a lot of people were still, I guess, in denial over that. But they didn't wait too long to reveal the mystery, which is a mistake sadly they made with season 2 with Zoom. With Zoom, they stretched the reveal so long that by the time they revealed it, it didn't really have much of an impact. And even worse when they had Godspeed. Everyone knew early on that Godspeed was some sort of a future version of Barry Allen, and they kept on stretching it and having fake reveals, and that one was a nightmare. So overall, I really enjoyed the first half of those TV shows, the first few seasons of those TV shows. But at some point, I wasn't very happy with the direction those shows took. Although I've made it a point to watch the crossover events every year. Like last year, I watched Elseworld, and it was a fun event. Seeing Superman being part of the event was an added bonus. And this year we have Crisis on Infinite Earths. Again, it is something that we never expected to see ever, and it happened. So for that alone, the fact that it happened is a miracle in itself. So far, I would say they did a good job. There's a few cringe moments. Obviously, there's some drama. There's some validation that they have to try to have. If I recall correctly, the first episode was the Supergirl episode. And right off the bat, they started strong. They started with the Batman from 1989. Yeah, we don't see Batman, but we see anyone who saw the Batman movie remembers Alexander Knox, I'm sure. So the very first scene, you see Alexander Knox, I think he's reading a paper, and you see the bat signal behind him. And right there, it tells us that it is the Batman from 1989. And also, they call it Earth 89 or something like that. So that was a pretty nice Easter egg, and they were able to cram a lot of those Easter egg. You could almost call that Easter egg the series, because afterwards we got I think we had the Titans from the Titans TV show. I wasn't a big fan of that TV show. I watched the first 2 episodes, maybe 3. Didn't really like it. And we were able to see also characters. I think we just saw the Ray from Earth X. Not sure why they didn't show more than just the Ray, but it happens. And also afterwards we saw Robin from Earth 66, if I recall correctly, which is the original Robin from the Batman the Batman TV series. Again, that's the kind of thing that we never really expected to see again, and it happened. So it was pretty much a tour de force where they were able to show a lot of Easter eggs. They were able to show a lot of Batman content, and ironically enough, never show Batman himself. Sadly, there is a bit of an issue with DC Warner Brothers in the sense that they're trying to save Batman for the movies. They don't want to use Batman in TV shows. I guess they feel it would lessen the value of the character, so they want to make sure that you can get Batman only in movies, so that they can make 200, 300, $1 billion with the Batman movies. So sadly, having Batman in a TV show is not really possible, but the Crisis on Infinite Earths were able to do that in a roundabout ways. Again, they were able to show, they just showed Alexander Knox with the bat signal, and you understood that this was Batman from 1989. They showed Robin, an older Robin walking his dog, and you could tell that it was the Robin from 1976. So in a roundabout ways, they had Batman from the 60s. And also they had Kevin Conroy playing a future version of Batman. I forget what Earth it is. I think it was Earth 99 or something like that. Sadly, it was an Earth where Batman became nuts, killed everyone, and was a murderer. Sad. And then they had to show that's one of the things that is a bit sad, is that they keep on having to tear down the male characters to try to make the female characters seems more important. They did that with basically you have a bad girl who fight off Batman. She ends up killing him, quote unquote, by accident. But they had to show that Batgirl can defeat Batman. They did that also later in the episode where you have Supergirl using her hate vision. You have Superman using his hate vision, and of course Superman. They play the idea that Supergirl is more powerful. Kryptonian ladies are more powerful than Kryptonian men. So Superman sadly cannot last as long as Supergirl with his heat vision, and you see him fainting, and then you see Supergirl keep on going, and it's sadly something that has been a bit sad about Supergirl. Is I remember the first season when we were a bit puzzled why they wouldn't show Supergirl and Superman in the first season of Supergirl, and the reason for that sadly was that they were so worried that Superman would take away the spotlight from Supergirl. That they didn't want to include Superman. They just wanted to have the show entirely focused on Supergirl, and they didn't want Superman to detract from Supergirl. And then with the second season, they started adding Superman a bit more. And at first, we were happy about that. We were, oh yeah, at last they include Superman in the series. Sadly, too often what would happen is that they would include Superman just so Supergirl could beat him up, just to be able to show that Supergirl was more powerful than Superman. And it even became a plot point at the end of the series where they have to choose a champion, and obviously it should have been Superman, but then they decided no, Supergirl is more powerful than Superman, so Supergirl will be the champion. So sadly, there's Giovanni Campia who compared the Superman in the Supergirl TV show to a jobber. Jobber basically is in wrestling terms, it's someone who's there to make the wrestling superstar look good. So they basically put a nobody with the superstar so that the nobody can beat up the superstar can beat up the nobody and look even more powerful. And sadly, that is what they're doing with Superman. It's as if at every step they have to take down Superman to try to show how powerful Supergirl is, which sadly is the wrong way in my book to go about it. But that seems to be what they've decided to do. So what can you do? Early on in the episode, they decide to destroy Kandor. Not sure why they did that, other than shock value. Maybe they decided to add too many Kryptonians in the Supergirl TV show. Quite possible. The one sad thing is that they end up killing Supergirl's mother. I guess they wanted to get extra drama by having Supergirl being sad for her mother. I'm not so sure. But at first, when we see Superman on Kandor, of course, they're not going to kill Superman. There's Harbinger who comes in at the last minute. It's a bit weird because Harbinger comes in. She saves Lois and Superman, but she doesn't save Lara, who is like 5 feet away, 5 feet next to them. It's a bit weird, but that's what happens. If I was Supergirl, I'd be a bit angry at the Harbinger for not saving her mom. But anyways, an Arbinger is played by a character from Arrow. I don't think she was there early on, but she was added to the series at some point. She was the wife of Diggles, and you have to wonder if they were already planning all the way back when, or if it's just a happy accident. Basically, the Diggle's wife was called Lila, which ends up being Arbinger's name, and they ended up making her Arbinger in a weird Pepsi twist, as we could say. So watching Crisis on Infinite Earths, you almost have to wonder what was planned from way back when and was what was just a happy accident. I guess until we see some sort of making of or behind the scenes stuff that actually tells us how the whole thing evolved, we'll never really know. So in Crisis on Infinite Earths, they seem to have decided to put everything and the kitchen sink. Not only are we going to have multiple versions of Superman, we even have Arrow, but not just Arrow, but also his kids from the future. That's another thing that started making those shows a bit unwatchable. They're trying very hard to have the characters interact with their children, so they have to either bring the children from the future and so that they can interact with the adult version of the future with whom they have no emotional connection. They didn't see them grow. They didn't. All they know they're their children, but not really. It could be an evil doppelganger for all they know. But anyways, so we have Arrow and his children. We have multiple versions of Superman, but then we have our friend the Flash, who gets added into the show, obviously. We have our friend Batgirl. Again, Batgirl, I was able to watch the first 5 episodes of Batgirl. The first episode wasn't so bad. It was like a cheaper, lesser version of Batman Begin. But after that, the show pretty much became unwatchable. And the whole drama with Batgirl and her sister and oh, no, I just couldn't do it. And also, sadly, as you become an old man, and also I've worked on too many TV shows to name them all. Uh, you can see the behind the scenes stuff. Like you can with Legends of Tomorrow, you can tell that it probably was very expensive to get all the different characters that they got in Crisis on Infinite Earths. They had to find ways to not have every single characters. So though for Legends of Tomorrow, there's a whole bunch of characters that are not in the show. Although there will be one episode that will be a Legends of Tomorrow episode, so maybe we will see more characters in that episode from Legends of Tomorrow. But and a lot of the characters, like we saw some characters from the Teen Titans. Here I made a sort of Raven look. I'm gonna have to work on it a bit more. But we were able to get a slightly a glimpse. Oh, there's also even a character from Birds of Prey. You guys may not remember that. There was this TV show in the mid 2000s called Birds of Prey that was basically Oracle with Huntress and I forget. Oh, and Black Canary, but or just Canary, but a totally different version. Like Black Canary or Canary had like psychic powers or something like that. It was a it was a bit of a mess, but I have to admit the first episode I saw, I hated the show, and after 2 or 3 episodes, somehow the show grew on me, and I loved it. So they have a little cameo from that group. We only hear Oracle on the comm, and we see how basically we see Huntress running on rooftops, and then her Earth gets destroyed. It's as if they added that just to be able to destroy. That show was pretty unpopular amongst the fan or even amongst creative people. So I guess they saw that as a good opportunity to destroy what they probably consider was an abomination. But personally, I loved that show. Again, yeah, there was a lot of teen drama and a lot of. It was always weird to see characters in their late 20s, early 30s acting like 12 years old. But it's to be expected in those kind of shows. So I was able to pretty much accept it. So in Crisis on Infinite Earths, we were able to get characters from the four corners of the multiverse, so to speak. And it's strange how it is somewhat faithful to the comics, but it's different enough to be its own thing. But they took a lot of inspiration from the comics, which is perfect in my book. I have no issues when they do that. Although they seem to be planting seeds for the future in their series, I suppose. Like they've introduced Ryan Choi, who became the Atom for a short while. So I have to wonder if they're going to try to replace Ray Palmer, the Atom, with the newer version of the Atom with Ryan Choi. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see for that. One thing that was awesome, speaking of Ray Palmer, not really has to do with Ray Palmer, but they had Kingdom Come Superman. You guys may have seen it. There was pictures of that quite some time ago. But basically, they had Brendan Routh reprise his role as Superman by having him play the Kingdom Come Superman, and it was very fitting and it was perfect. And the costume, holy crap, the Kingdom Come Superman costume was perfect. I always wonder why don't they always make superhero costumes like that? I guess the one complaint I could have was the S shield looked like it was made of plastic because it was. Not sure why they cannot just go with a light fabric for the emblem. They have to have those plastic emblems that have a lot of texture into them. But that's a very minor nitpick. The Kingdom Come Superman costume was perfect, and it was even more perfect when you saw him next to the costume of the Superman from the Supergirl TV show. The same with Harbinger. They made a really great job recreating the costume that Harbinger had in the comic. I'm sure it's not 100% there exact, but it's so close that you can barely tell the difference. But for the Kingdom Come Superman, holy crap, was it a great treat? I was a bit sad though. Sadly, it looked as if we would have Kingdom Come Superman would stick around. Sadly, with the third episode, the evil Lex Luthor, through some shenanigans, was able to basically replace Kingdom Come Superman. Because at first it looked as if Kingdom Come Superman was going to be one of the characters, the seven Paragons that would survive the crisis. But Lex Luthor was able to sort of kind of replace him. And the Lex Luthor, if there's one thing I really didn't like about in the show, it's Lex Luthor. It could be because basically he's played by Alan Harper from Two and a Half Men. And whenever Luthor snickers, I couldn't help but wonder, why does he snicker like Alan Harper? I know why. It's the same guy. And there's only so many ways that a guy can laugh or snickers but I could not see Alan Harper from Two and a Half Men. He looked goofy. It was like a goofy version of super of Lex Luthor. And the first episode ended on a great superhero fight. You have pretty much a whole bunch of our heroes fighting a whole bunch of evil shadow demons, and that was pretty awesome. And you have what seemed at first to be the last stand of Oliver Queen, but of course it was a fake out. They bring him back the next episode using some Lazarus Pit, and then afterwards you have John Constantine who has to try to bring his soul back. They were able to use the Lazarus Pit to raise Oliver's body, but of course he didn't have his soul, same as Black Canary. So they had to get John Constantine to try to put his soul back, which gave us a great cameo by Lucifer. Also, they were able to add Lucifer to the show, which was again awesome. The Lucifer TV show, if you guys never saw the Lucifer TV show, I would strongly suggest it. Basically, just watch the first episode. In a nutshell, if you like the character of Lucifer, everything revolves around him. So if you like the character of Lucifer, you will have fun with that show. If you don't like the character of Lucifer, then don't watch the show. It's gonna annoy you. You have characters that are again in their early 30s, mid 30s, who act like 12 years old. You have those misunderstanding that only happens if you're 12-year-old and don't talk to each other. But other than that, it's a fun show. Again, if you like Lucifer, the character, you will like the TV show. And they were able to have our friend Lucifer make an appearance when they have to put Oliver Queen's soul back into his body. Who do you go to if you need to train in souls? Well, you have to go see the Morning Star, obviously. And it was to be expected. There was no way that we're going to kill Oliver Queen in the first episode. Arrow is the one who started the whole thing. The TV show Arrow and Oliver Queen, the character, is pretty much the building block of the whole Arrowverse. So they had to keep him around for the whole event. So it was I guess it was a bit puzzling at first when they decided to kill him in the first episode, but then it became obvious that He wasn't really dead. They were going to bring him back quickly enough. And also another character I should mention is Pariah. Holy crap! They had Tony Kavanagh who used to play Harrison Wells, or actually who used to play the evil Reverse Flash. But then turns out that the Reverse Flash had taken the body of Harrison Wells. And then we had Harrison Wells from different realities in the future series. And so here in this case, again, we had a new version of Harrison Wells in the Flash, and it turns out that this version of Harrison Wells becomes Pariah, the guy who pretty much frees the evil Anti-Monitor, and then who gets teleported from universes to universes, and see the death of the multiverse. And as I mentioned before, they were able to have Batman without having Batman. Basically, we had Kevin Conroy, who voiced Batman in the Batman animated series, who made an appearance. And you see him in an armor, not unlike how we first see him in Kingdom Come, where basically suggesting that his body is all broken from fighting the forces of evil for decades. Although in this case, the Pepsi twist, is that it's actually Superman who broke him, and he killed Superman. He killed a whole bunch of people. We see a trophy case at some point with a whole bunch of, let's say, mementos in that trophy case, and one of those mementos is Superman's Clark Kent glasses with what seems to be like a bullet hole. Um, uh, does it imply that Batman shot him with a gun with a kryptonite bullet? I guess we'll never know. But it was a bit sad to see that they had to turn Batman into a murderous psychopath. If that's sadly that's the mixed blessing. Like there's sometimes we wished for a long time we wished they would add Batman to the Arrowverse, but if they're going to do it that way, if they're going to do it to try to lessen Batman, uh, so that they can make Batwoman seems more heroic, I'd rather they didn't include Batman then. And we had the same issue with Superman. Basically, Superman was added to the Supergirl TV show just to show that he was much weaker than Supergirl and to show how awesome Supergirl is. So that was a bit disappointing. One of the characters that I really enjoyed seeing in Crisis and Infinite Earths was John Constantine. Uh, as I mentioned, the Constantine TV show was a mess, but holy crap, the character is spot on. The actor playing John Constantine is perfect. I wouldn't see anyone else playing the character, and it was just sad that he was stuck in a crappy TV show. But luckily, they were able to bring him over into Legends of Tomorrow, which was quite a treat. It's one of the things that I have to give to the people making the CW TV shows is that they're able sometimes to work out small miracles. Some of you guys may not recall, originally we had the Suicide Squad in the Arrow TV show until Warner's decided to make a Suicide Squad movie, and then all of a sudden the Suicide Squad was off limit. They couldn't use the Suicide Squad anymore. From what I understand, they had to scramble and change their plans last minute because at some point they really were going to use the Suicide Squad quite a lot. But sadly, they were told not to use the squad anymore, so they had to get rid of the squad. They had to get rid of Amanda Waller. And so a lot of the stuff that they had built up, they had to get rid of at the last minute because of the movies, sadly. But here it was nice to see that they were also able to do the opposite. When Constantine was cancelled, they were able to include Constantine in the CW universe. So it's always a treat to see Constantine once more and to have him included not just in Legends of Tomorrow, but in this case in Crisis on Infinite Earths. They were also able to include Tom Welling from Smallville. Sadly, as was to be expected, when they made Smallville, one of the conditions that they had to making Smallville was that Clark Kent would never wear the Superman costume. The actor, I forget it, Tom Welling, was dead set against that. He did not want to put on a Superman costume ever. So when they made the Smallville TV series, there was an agreement that he would never wear the suit. And you would have thought that for something like Crisis on Infinite Earths, he would finally have worn the suit, but no. It became again the same thing. They showed us a Superman that lost his powers, that didn't wear the suit once more. Although I have to give them credit, they showed a Superman that was still capable. They didn't make him into a weakling just because he didn't have his powers. It was a bit refreshing, I guess. But it was nice also to see like when Lex Luthor shows up with kryptonite to kill him. He was able to show that he was no wuss. Even without his power, he was in a wuss and was still able to kick Lex Luthor's backside, even without his powers. But it would have been nice to see Tom Welling finally wearing the Superman suit. But based on what we knew, it was no surprise that he didn't do it. And of course, we have to mention the Flash from the 1991 TV show. It was a nice treat to see him once more. We had seen him already last year during the Elseworld event, and he had disappeared pretty quickly and pretty suddenly, and we wondered where is he gone to? We could have assumed that they had just killed him. Turns out, no, he was the one powering some evil machine for he was powering the what's it called, the antimatter cannon for the evil anti-monitor, and they were able to get their cake and eat it too. They were able to kill the Flash in Crisis on Infinite Earths, not unlike how it happened in the comics, but they were also able to keep their Flash for their TV show. Basically, it was mentioned how the Flash had to die in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and of course, you would assume it meant Grant Gustin from the Flash TV show. But turns out that nope, they were able to have the Flash die in Crisis on Infinite Earths, but it was the Flash from the Earth 91. So it was the Flash from the 1991 TV show. And as you can see, you can recreate a pretty darn good version of the character. The only issue I have with is the gloves. Like using the void material is pretty darn close to what the character looked like. But for the gloves, I'm not sure how to be able to get the yellow trim on the gloves and the red on the gloves. Either I would have to put the gloves completely red or completely yellow. I'll have to give it some thoughts. So we saw a lot of Easter eggs in Crisis on Infinite Earths. We saw Easter eggs from a lot of TV shows. We saw Easter eggs even from some movies, like the Brandon Routh Superman from Superman Returns. I guess we can wonder: are we going to see other Easter eggs? Like, are we going to see some Easter eggs from the Justice League movie? Although maybe we did see and I missed it. There's so many Easter eggs that if you blink, you'll miss them. So you have to wonder if they're going to be able to add a few Easter eggs from movies, maybe an appearance by Shazam. Who knows? I guess we're gonna have to wait and see for the last two parts. So basically, we got 3 parts before Christmas. In January, we're going to get the last 2 parts. I think one episode is going to be a Legends of Tomorrow episode, and in January we are going to get the last 2 episodes. So I think part 4 is going to be the Arrow episode, and part 5 will be a Legend of Tomorrow episode, I think. And for Arrow, this is the last season of Arrow. So it's going to end on a pretty big note, thanks to Crisis on Infinite Earths. Although there's going to be 2 episodes after the Crisis crossover. They seem to set up Oliver Queen to be the Spectre in the last 2 episodes of Crisis. So I guess we're gonna have to wait and see how they resolve that. So what do I think of Crisis on Infinite Earths? In a nutshell, it's a sea of Easter eggs. There's a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of surprises thanks to that. The Kingdom Come Superman was an early surprise that we've known for a long time, but there's quite a few. Seeing the quote-unquote characters from the Batman 1989 movie, Alexander Knox, seeing Robin from the 66 TV show, all of those were nice Easter eggs. Seeing the Flash from the the TV show from the 90s one last time it was quite a nice fitting conclusion to the character. It's sad that we only got 1 season of that character, but we were able, thanks to the Flash TV show and the CW universe, Arrow universe, we were able to get one last glimpse of that character, and it was much appreciated. I've always been a big Flash fan, and being able to see the Flash from the 90s TV show get some sort of conclusion, that was kind of nice. So just for the Easter eggs alone, it was worth it. Yeah. Obviously, you have to put up with a lot of teen drama that shouldn't even happen. Like there was this scene with Supergirl where Superman was feeling a bit down and she has to give him a pep talk. that shouldn't happen. At the very least, it should be the other way around, or it just shouldn't happen. Period. No one should have to give Superman a pep talk. He should be the one giving the pep talks. He's the one who's supposed to represent hope. But within the context of the CW universe, they've decided that Supergirl was the one who was going to represent hope. So sadly, you have to put up with a few cringe moments to be able to enjoy the show. But there's a lot to be enjoyed about the action sequences. They pulled out all the stops. Yeah, there's a long bit of the episode that of some of the episodes that were a lot of talking and sharing their feeling and all that crap. But they were able to make up for that with some really pretty awesome action sequences. The action sequence where they're fighting the Shadow Demons, that alone was worth it. There's some really nice action sequence involving Arrow as always. It's always fun to see the Flash in action. But overall, Crisis on Infinite Earths is something that we never thought for 1 second we would see on screen, and there it is. Yes, there are some cringe moments, but there are some awesome moments, more than enough awesome moments to make for the teen drama and the cringe moments. Obviously, this is from the point of view of an old guy. Maybe some of the older crowd, maybe some of the younger crowd for whom the TV show is aimed at. Maybe you guys enjoy that teen drama stuff. Sadly, I'm an old guy and I'm a little too old to be able to enjoy that. So we will have to wait until January to be able to get the conclusion to that story. Hopefully, there's going to be quite a few more surprises waiting for us. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. And that is pretty much it for now, guys. So, as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.